Hello, my name is Amy Wilson. This is a book talk for Critical Assignment 2 with LAE 4416, Children's Literature and Elementary Education. The book that I chose is The Rough-Faced Girl by Rafe Martin. I chose second grade. I feel like at second grade the students should be able to read a little bit more of an extensive text because each page does have quite a lot of a text. If the students aren't ready to fly solo just yet, there is audio tapes available, which is one of the reasons why I did choose this book. Alright guys, today we're going to be reading The Rough-Faced Girl by Rafe Martin. Can anybody tell me what they think this book is going to be about? Once, long ago, there was a village by the shores of Lake Ontario. Off from the other wigwams of this village stood one great huge wigwam. Painted on its sides were pictures of the sun, moon, stars, plants, trees, and animals. And inside this wigwam there's said to live a very great, rich, powerful, supposedly handsome, invisible being. However, no one could see him except his sister who lived there too. Many women wanted to marry this invisible being, but the sister said, only the one that can see him can marry him. Can anybody tell me what they think a wigwam is? Now, in this village, there lived a poor man who had 3 daughters. The 2 older daughters were cruel and hard-hearted, and they made their youngest sister sit by the fire and feed the flames. When the burning branches popped, the sparks fell on her. In time, her hands became burnt and scarred. Her arms, too, became rough and scarred. Even her face was marked by the fire, and her beautiful long black hair hung ragged and charred. And those 2 older sisters laughed at her, saying, "Ha! You're ugly, you rough-faced girl." And they made her life very lonely and miserable indeed. I feel so sorry for the rough-faced girl. She's got a hard life. And sitting by that fire all the time must be really uncomfortable. One day, these 2 older sisters went to their father and said, "Father, give us some necklaces. Give us some new buckskin dresses. Give us some pretty beaded moccasins. We're going to marry the invisible being." So their father gave them these things. Dressed in their finest, the 2 girls marched to the village. All the people pointed and stared. "Look at those beautiful girls," they said. "Surely they shall marry the invisible being." And if those girls weren't proud and hard-hearted before, they were even prouder now. They walked haughtily through the village. At last they came to the wigwam of the invisible being, and there was his sister waiting. "Why have you come?" she asked. "We want to marry the invisible being," they answered. "That's why we're here." "If you want to marry my brother," she replied, "you have to have seen him. Tell me, have you seen the invisible being?" "Of course we've seen him," they insisted. "Can't you see how pretty we are? Can't you see the beautiful clothes we wear?" "Oh yes, anyone can tell that we've truly seen the invisible being." "All right," she said quietly. "If you think you've seen him, then tell me, what's his bow made of?" And suddenly her voice was swift as lightning and strong as thunder. She does not look too happy to see those 2 sisters. His bow?" they stammered in surprise. "His bow? We know. But turning desperately to one another, they whispered, "What shall we say?" "Let's say it's the oak tree." So they said, "It's the great oak tree." "No," said the sister of the invisible being, "no." Oh, she saw at once how they lied. "Tell me," she continued, "if you think you've seen my brother the invisible being, then what's his runner of his sled made of?" We know, cried the 2 sisters, but whispering feverishly again, they wondered, "What shall we say? What shall we say?" "Let's say it's the green willow branch." "No," said the sister when she heard. "No, you have not seen my brother. Now go home." "Just test us fairly," they exclaimed. "We've seen him. Just don't ask us these silly questions." I'm skipping ahead a couple pages. The next day, the rough-faced girl went to her father and said, "Father, may I please have some beads? May I please have a new buckskin dress and some pretty moccasins? I'm going to marry the invisible being, for whenever I look, I see his face." But her father sighed. "Daughter, I'm sorry. I have no beads left for you, only some little broken shells. I have no buckskin dress, and as for moccasins, all I have left are my old, worn, cracked, and stretched out pair from last year, and they're much too big." But she said, "Whatever you can spare, I can use." So he gave her these things. What do you guys think that the rough-faced girl needs all these items for? Skipping ahead a few more pages. Ah, exclaimed the sister in excitement. Tell me, she asked, if you've seen my brother, the invisible being, what's the runner of his sled made of? And the rough-faced girl, looking up to the night sky, said, the runner of his sled? Why, it's the Spirit Road, the Milky Way of stars that spread across the sky. Ah, cried the sister in wonder and delight, you have seen him. Come with me. And taking the rough-faced girl by the hand, she led her back to the wigwam and sat her in the seat next to the entrance, the wife's seat. They then heard footsteps coming along the path, closer and closer. The entrance flap of the wigwam lifted up, and in stepped the invisible being. And when he saw her sitting there, he said, at last we have been found out. Then, smiling kindly, he said, and oh, my sister, but she is beautiful. And the sister said, yes. The sister of the invisible being then gave the rough-skinned girl the finest of buckskin robes and the necklace of perfect shells. Now bathe in the lake, she said, and dress in these. So the rough-faced girl bathed in the water of the lake. Suddenly, all the scars vanished from her body. Her skin grew smooth again, and her beautiful black hair grew long and glossy as if a raven's wing. Now anyone could see that she was indeed beautiful, but the invisible being and his sister had seen her from the start. What was everybody's favorite part of the story? The strategies from the dimension of thought that I had used in this center is going to be S1, which is for thinking independently. The students should be able to go ahead and make up their own mind about what the story was about, how it made them feel. Another one is S27, comparing and contrasting ideals with actual practice. The students should be able to make comparisons between Cinderella, which they should have already previously viewed, and the rough-faced girl. S33 is giving reasons and evaluating evidence and alleged facts. They should be able to look back in the text to back up what they were answering. And the last one is S4, which is exploring thoughts, underlying feelings, and feelings underlying thoughts. This one I used with ELL students because it asks in one of their worksheets how they felt about the story. I just absolutely loved this book and the illustrations. I think the students would enjoy it as well. It is a multicultural piece, so the students will be able to learn a little bit about another culture, and just if they've never seen anything like this before, it might be really interesting for them. And also, I chose this text because it does align with Bloom's taxonomy, and which they can analyze, apply, and understand. Thank you.